So I've been looking in old sketchbooks and journals, trying to work out what exactly it is that makes me scared of the first page and what helped me to get over it. So stay around for the waffling and to get a sneak peek inside some journals, and let's talk about it. So I think because I spent so long changing the cover and building artwork onto the cover and the spine and onto the back, I had this lovely cover built which I loved, and then that put pressure on. Anytime that we feel that pressure, it starts to push us to think the next bit has got to be perfect. And I also knew that people were going to see this because I wanted to share this as well, so that made it scary as well, the fact that people might see it, the pressure of the front cover. It's already lovely, and I think as well that comes into play with this this Stillman and Burns sketchbook. You can see I haven't started it at all. I was inspired to buy one of these because Sandy Hester, who's got an amazing art channel on YouTube, she works in these, and I just thought, oh look, they lie flat, there's you could do like a double page spread in them, and it was expensive. It was more expensive than I'm used to buying. I'm used to sort of working in something like this that cost me 50p. This didn't cost me 50p. So if you have bought like a really expensive book, I see sometimes people buying really expensive, like 50, 60, 70 pound leather bound grimoires, and then that is a reason to be scared of the first page. It was expensive. Or people might see, or you spent time and the cover's gorgeous and now you don't want to spoil it. In some way it's become precious, and that preciousness stops us from wanting to play. And I think we have to take the preciousness away from these magical books, whether it be a sketchbook or a grimoire, whatever you want to call it, a journal, an art book, a diary, whatever you want to call it. The preciousness needs to be taken away from the book itself, and we need to put the preciousness into the journey, the process, the sacred play within the process, not the outcome. That's important. I mean, with this book, I spent so long on the cover and I love it so much. I wanted, like, when you open it, for there to be a ta-da moment. That ta-da moment puts pressure on. What on earth? If you at any point have felt that pressure, that pushed for perfectionism, that focus on the outcome and not the process or the sacred play, if you have imagined other people seeing it and judging it, or if you've spent a lot of money on a book and that puts pressure on not to start, keep watching, because this might really help you get unstuck, and me too. The first advice I would give is, don't think about what you need to add or put into the book. Take something away instead. So for the first tip, I ask you to make gesso your best friend. You can get it really cheap and it can support you in subtracting from a page rather than having to worry about what to add. Because when I hear people stress about the first page, and when I stress about the first page, it's around things of, oh, what to add, what to draw, what to write, what to use this page for. And it's always about what to add in. However, let's turn that around. Let's start with, say, a reclaimed book with something already on, and let's start by subtracting. When you subtract first, you're working with what's already there and you're letting the page speak to you. In this page, the downward motion of painting around those tree trunks made me think of Safety and Havens. Here's another book. Now, this image of a cave painting made me think about Signs and Symbols, and I just bought this book secondhand as well. A book about signs and symbols through history. It's just an amazing find, this book. I love it. So when I saw that little drawing on the first page of this reclaimed book, I just thought, my gosh, this page needs to be about signs and symbols. So I got rid of everything else. I kept those little marks in the cliff that I'm painting around there, because that made me think of caves and walking into caves. I get rid of all the writing as well. Of course, I keep that little image that first inspired all of this. And then when it came to the tree, I got rid of all the little bits of the tree and just kept the larger branches. I was trying to turn the tree into a symbol of itself, just for the main shapes to stand out. So by subtracting from what's already there, I allow the book to start speaking to me. Here's another book, another nature book about still water. And look, you can see I'm missing some of the very first pages, possibly to keep for an index later on. So a few pages in actually becomes my first page to work on. I read down the text in this page, just wondering if there was anything in the text that would spark my interest. When there wasn't, I just kept the title, The World of Still Water. That made me think of secrets and things under the surface, the hidden things. And then that still pool made me think of things like kelpies and mythical creatures. Already I'm having a dialogue with that page. So think in terms of subtracting, not adding. That can really help. So the second point is, don't get too expensive. Use reclaimed books, make junk books, make zigzag books. Do that for first pages. You know, these are the books that you saw me taking away from. Like I said, the neighbour popped these round to me. This book, which I've decorated the cover of and the back, I actually used vintage handkerchiefs for these, and just like bits of silver cut up. This is like a reclaimed, look at this is a reclaimed animal kingdom book. Now you can see I've caused a right mess because I decided to glue big blocks of pages together to make these less pages and to make them thicker. And then on some places I decided I want more pages and tried to tear the glued pages apart, and I ripped, but it is what it is, and that will add to it. Look, you can see I've got rips in here now. That one page that I was just showing you, this is the page I gessoed. Look, there's actually like a tear here, and you might think, oh, that's ruined now, but it's not. It's pressure off, and this could have been the first page. So I've got words that I've kept and images that I've kept. The first page in this book, again, I just gessoed over the end pages, and I just stuck down images that I liked and ended up putting a little weaving in. This is the first actual double page spread, and I used gesso and tissue paper in that, and I just glued down pictures of tarot readings that I was doing. So I think to subtract, and then you can just add photographs if you want, but anything goes, because this is a cheap book. Look, there's no pressure. I've even torn the pages and there's literally no pressure. It takes that preciousness away, which allows you to play more. It allows you to tear pages and not be bothered. So in this one, look, you can see I've left some pages at the beginning which will turn into my content space. So this is the first page that I'm actually working on. I loved this title, The Word of Still Water. There was nothing in there that I wanted, and like I said, as I was extracting this, I had visions of like all the mythical water creatures to research and to draw about. This is another one. This one I turned to the first page, and I just loved this mountain coming down, all the rocks, and these little homes here. And then this book, you also saw me take away from this first page, inspired by this picture and that book I bought. But the point is here is they're cheap, they're not precious, they're not expensive. I am always using old diaries. Look, this is Be a Unicorn 2018. This was a diary that I never wrote in because I'm always buying notebooks and diaries that I love. I was sad that I hadn't used this because of this beautiful front cover, and I thought, well, I'm just going to gesso it. It was beginning to fall apart, so I just sellotaped it back together. On the first page is just it was just gessoed. I just gessoed over the squares. So gesso is your friend, and it's cheap. If you go and get cheap gesso, it's really good. I journaled, and then from the journaling I gessoed again, and then I drew and I collaged. So you can hide your personal journaling if you want, but the essence and the energy of those words is still in the page. So you can see throughout this book, gessoed all of this kind of thing away, added in some lace, and I'm just drawing from that now I've got to the adding bit. But it started with just gessoing and writing and then layering, and if you don't like something, gesso over it again or collage over it again. You don't have to stick with something you don't like. You can just cover it up and start again. There is intentional covering up in these, but it's play, and I think buying cheaper books or reclaiming books is a way to make play so much easier, because you put the preciousness into the play. I think that's the biggest point. Put the preciousness into the play, not the outcome. I mean, these books that I make are literally made from an Amazon envelope. This is two Amazon envelopes joined. Look, you can see here, look, there's another Amazon envelope joined in on the spine there. So this cost me nothing really. I've made out of scrap paper and things, but you can see if you take the pressure off and make like a reclaimed book, I mean, it's just so much pressure gone then to get this right. You know, it's already just Amazon envelopes and bits of wrapping paper that gifts came in. What else have we got? That's an envelope that somebody sent me with my name on. This is toilet paper wrapping. So you can see, look, there's just tags and post-it notes glued in, a sticker somebody sent me, pictures, photocopies of tarot cards. The play is really utilised there. This is purely about the play, and it takes the pressure off. So think about making scrap junk journals. Think about using old diaries or notebooks, you know, just gesso over them and you reclaim them. Or think about books from charity shops that will have a conversation just waiting for you if you listen. So it doesn't have to be expensive. Take the expense out of it. It encourages you to be less precious. The third point I want to make, I thought of when I looked at this one. Now, this was supposed to be for tarot study. So all my tarot study I was going to keep in here. And I procrastinated an awfully long time on starting this because there's so much to study with tarot. How would I organise the book? So my procrastination here, the thing that made me scared of the first page was the physical organisation of the book. What do I put in first? How will I know how to find anything in my tarot study? I mean, this was about my dad's voice coming through. So I started off with this book thinking about mediumship, tarot readings, and and that kind of went away from where I wanted it to go, and I was like, oh no, now I don't know how to organise it at all. Look, this is how to do a deck interview. This was the start of Wheel of the Year Tarot. Look, this hasn't even been done yet. So you might guess how I got over it. I got over it by just covering up where I wanted to put the contents page and forgetting about the contents page. And to really help me get over the stress of it, I then turned to the middle of the book. If you're stressed about organising a journal because of where the content's going to go, how am I going to organise it, what comes first, what if I run out of space, then go to the middle of the book. Don't start on the first page. Screw up the order from the get-go. I mean, this was an oil painting exploring the Queen of Swords and what the Queen of Swords reversed and upright means to me. You can see I've got hidden poetry from that subtraction bit. Then I added painting, and it's a tarot study just done in oil paints here. This page, I think I'm doing temperance on this page, but I'm not going in order. Look, I'm going backwards. The front of the book turned into something I wasn't even expecting. So if you're worried about organising and contents, which stopped me using this book for such a long time, don't give it a contents page. Don't organise it. Go rogue from the get-go. The grimoire, which I showed you, if I show you the very first page, and here I've left this end paper spread clear, I've left that clear. This front page I've gessoed over the book contents. I've left the word wild, I've left the bird in. I've left just a few pages at the beginning before I start my main spread to just, I'll deal with it when the book's done. Just leave some space at the front, deal with it when the book's done, or don't deal with it. Don't use the contents or an index. Don't have it organised. Or add it onto a piece of paper when you're finished and then just tape it into the front. So don't let organisation stop you, because that did stop me for an awfully long time. So that's my point 4. Don't start with the first page. Take the pressure off and go to a middle page. Go out of order. I think if you are being stopped by wanting the first page to be ta-da, turning to say the back of a book or the middle of the book, you've got rid of that ta-da pressure. Does that make sense? Don't start with the first page, start anywhere. So not starting with the first page, I've got this Wild Unknown journal by Kim Kranz, and I did the same in this. I didn't start with the first page, I started with this page, which was about inhabiting, and all this page had was a nest drawn on it. So all this extra stuff and the writing and these eggs and this torn journaling made into nests, I've added all of that myself. So and the scarab beetle, all of that's added myself, but you can see that's like the middle of the book. And I didn't realise, but at the start of this book, which has just some info at the front, this is actually encouraged. I only noticed this the other day. It said, "So my fellow brave traveller, you have already taken your first step. To take another, close your eyes, pick a page and begin. And remember, the whole world travels with you." So we're not asked to start on page 1 here. She's asking us to close our eyes, to pick a page and begin. So if you're scared of the first page, don't start on the first page. Go to the middle or do it all completely out of order, and it just takes the pressure off. Another fantastic tip to take the pressure away is to intentionally mess a sketchbook up on that first page for something that's still useful, but it gets you started. I used tips from Sandy Hesto. I've mentioned before, I love her art channel. I'll link that below. But she always messes with the media in the front pages. She does like testing media, and because this book I was starting to play with oil pastels for the very first time, and I'd got a few different sets of oil pastels. I wanted to compare them. Look, some are water soluble, so I just spent the first few pages taking Sandy's tip of just using the first few pages of a sketchbook to mess around with the media, to media test in the front. So, you know, if you've got a journal and you want to put a little bit more art in and you're just not sure what to do, but you've got like some pencils, or you've got some pastels, or you've got some chalks, do this in the front of it. Use it for media testing. I know that Sandy also, like if she's got a really expensive sketchbook, she'll splatter paint on the front, or if she's got paint on her hands, she'll use the front of the sketchbook to clean her hands with, and it's just to take the preciousness away. So this is, I mean, this is a massive fat monster. This was the outside of a book that I got from a charity shop that I was ripping the paper out to use, but then I got left with this spine. I had to add on an extra spine because it got so fat. But the inside again is all Amazon envelopes again. Look, you can see the bit of the book there, but and then there's a bit of the spine there, but it's all just cut and sliced, and you know, it's really cut about and cheap, this one. But again, I wanted to show you the front page, so I didn't media test in this because this is for, look, this is for tarot readings, this book. So you know, that there's all cutouts and all sorts of things going on in this book. And you can see, look, you can see that this cardboard, it's all made from envelopes. But the first page, let's go back to the first page. I used it just to collage and to put a name tag. Now you can put, if you're going to take your sketchbook out the house, or your journal, or your grimoire, or your magic book, let's just call them magic books. If you're going to be taking your magic book out of the house in, say, a handbag or something, then you might want to put a, if this book is lost, please return it to page on the front page, just in case the worst happened and you lost your book. Now, because these chunky tarot reading books don't leave the house, I haven't done that, but I did use that idea of, you know, the first page having, you know, my name on. You know, I've got my name here. This was 2021, it was a depth year. My word of the year was reframe. My card of the year for the energy of the year was Queen of Wands. My tarot year card was the Hanged Man. So I just put different aspects of what the year was going to be about at the front, just in really crazy collage. It doesn't take a lot of, oh, is this the right thing to do? For your first page, it doesn't take a lot of thinking about if all you're doing is like a name page, or a keyword for the year page, or a address page in case you lose it, or a testing your media page. It takes the pressure off, so you could use your first page for that. It takes away the need for the ta-da moment again when you open the book. But if you're scared of the first page, why put it in a book at all? Just don't use a book. So in here, I have an art project called 100 Dolls and Me. And this, without me realising, actually was the last 100 days of my marriage before my life imploded. So I started this project exploring like the words that a paper doll had whispered to me, and I did one of these mixed media drawings, and you can see they're actually inside sewn pockets that I've made, because they did actually go into an art trail in a beautiful old church. They were displayed, as a complete body of work, and it was just the most marvellous thing. But I could easily have done this project in an art book, but I didn't. I took the pressure off, and I just wanted to do it on separate pieces of paper. Each doll is numbered, so this is doll 99, this is doll 18, and you can see I had the same silhouette of a paper doll in all of them. If any project talks about listening and hearing voices coming in and following the voice, then this is the project for it. But the point here is that I took it out of the journal. There is no first page. There is just lots and lots of separate pieces of paper. So you could easily journal on separate pieces of paper, and then there is no one page more precious than the other then. And it's easier to think, well, if I don't like it, I don't have to include that piece of paper, if that's what you are thinking of. But I'd also say with that, please don't throw away the things that you think aren't perfect, because they will have a voice in them as well. Like, I don't like this doll necessarily as much as other dolls I've done. However, it still is part of that whole journey. It's equally important. So don't judge your work just on outcome ever. It holds energy, it holds story. You know, you can see I dropped ink as accidents to see what would come from it as part of this journey, which I do want to do a video about, because I've seen other people doing this now, and I've done this for years. And you can see there's all sorts of things. This project is where I began paper cutting and drawing with voids. You can see the word cut was very, very important in this body of work. But I didn't use a sketchbook, and it could have so easily been sketchbook work, but I didn't. It was all done on pieces of paper. So if the first page frightens you, take it out of the book. You've got no first page. Then you can always then glue it back into a book when you're finished, or sew it together, or just put it in a binder, or put it in a ring binder in plastic wallets, whatever works for you, or put it in a box. You know, that's another way of getting over the fear of the first page. Just don't have a first page. Okay, another way to get over the fear of the first page is to not think of imagery. I think when people want to do art journaling, or they want to add something, you know, more artistic into a book, they say, well, I like to journal, but I'm not artistic. Well, use the writing then to get over the fear of the first page. I've done, looking back over my sketchbooks over time to do this video, I noticed that a lot of my sketchbooks start with writing and writing down ideas. There's pages of note-taking and just little doodles for ideas. And I noticed that a lot of my sketchbooks start like this, with the ideas in writing, and then you begin to get more imagery in then. And I hadn't realised that I do this until I started looking in books. So this again is a reclaimed book, and you can see here I started with this writing. So this was journaling about how upset I was when that deer got killed in Liverpool, that white deer, and I just wrote down on a separate piece of paper how upset I was, and then glued it in, and like glued it onto a gessoed page, and then just did work around it. But the writing is what started it. And I am very much one to, like, this is a piece of envelope, grabbing different pieces of paper, which then when you glue it in, you've immediately got an interest then, because you've got a different piece of paper. So even write on different pieces of paper to glue in, you know. But start with the writing. If writing is where you're confident and you're used to journaling and you are used to writing, start with the writing. That's what I did here. I did the writing and then I took out keywords and started just ripping paper. I put the image of the weaver, so this is writing from a meditation with the weaver's oracle, and the artwork, you can see it's kind of developing as I'm writing, but I started with writing. So that's a possibility as well. If you're confident with your writing, start with the writing and just see what develops. It might be that one keyword jumps out at you and then you're away with that page. You can then develop that page into imagery. I mean, that is like what I did here. I mean, even this page, which is my first double page spread in here, I started with the writing. I gessoed the page, started journaling on top of it, and there's more journaling stuck underneath. From that journaling, some keywords and themes jumped out, and it took my thinking into a whole another area, and then images formed and I started drawing on top of the writing. But again, this page started with writing. So that's okay too. Start with the writing if that's what you're happy with. And then if we go back to this book, which is the book I use with the Weaver's Oracle, another thing to think about is to take away the pressure of the drawing and thinking of art and art books as just drawing. It doesn't need to be just drawing. Here there's collage, and the energy and the feel of what this writing was about. Look, you can see I did it with ripped paper. There's ripped foil, there's ripped envelopes, there's ripped packing paper, there's ripped cellophane from Sweeties, there's threads in different colours. I've used colour magic in here to depict different things, all glued on and just left to dry overnight. So you don't have to draw. You could just as easily rip paper or use just what the colours are saying to you, or use like textiles or cottons and glue those in. It doesn't need to be just drawing. If you're thinking, oh, I can't draw, I'm not that good at drawing, but I want this to like be an art book, draw with ripping, or take the pressure off and draw with your other hand. I've seen people do that, or blind draw, close your eyes and draw. This is about sacred play. I mean, how fun is that? Or pick up a completely new medium that you've got no skill set in whatsoever. I am frantically going through this pile of journals here to show you, of course, this one. I have no skills in wax crayons. I've never used them before. That kind of takes the pressure off. I've never used them before. So, you know, it doesn't matter if it's not quite what I was expecting. It's a new medium. So anything that helps take the pressure off with art and, you know, blind drawing, ripping paper, new mediums, use your other hand. Anything you can to make it sacred play, do that. The next point, if you're scared of the first page, is to buy a book like this. So there are different books like this out that give you prompts. So the Wild Unknown Journal, I've shown you this before on this page, but on each page there's a prompt or a pattern to get you started. You know, these are all pages. This is what the book is like when you buy it, and they're pages with prompts on to get you started. So you could buy a book like that, or this Maria Elizabeth book, Create This Book. Look, here's a page that I've started already, but you've got ideas already on here. That might be another way to get over your fear of the first page, because it's already got a prompt on there to start you off. But then most importantly, I think, for how to get over your fear of the first page is to just listen to what the book's telling you. I think if you use it, if you just start, just put anything down like gesso or scribbles or anything, knowing that you can cover it over if you don't like it, then the book will start talking back to you, or the marks that you're putting on will start talking back to you. It really is like, it can be like a meditative practice, and it starts to flow out. Just start working, do anything, even with the intention of covering it over, but listen as you're drawing. Just listen and see what the book is whispering to you, or see what the voices in your head are whispering to you. You will soon get ideas from that if you listen. I think this book was directed by the whispers coming into my head as I sat and started with just plain writing, and then it just grew and became multi-layered. Oh my gosh, I've just thought of another one. With my toy tarot painting, that oil painting was new to me as well. See if I can find some clips to put in. You can see what I'm doing with the blank canvas. I literally am just throwing colour at it. That is another brilliant tip for getting over that fear of the blank canvas or blank page or the first page, is to work backwards, to work with just colour or texture or backgrounds, to put the background in first. If you put a background in first, then it's not blank anymore, and then you can add to the background. So work backwards, do a background first. So guys, that really is it now, having thought of that. I hope that you found that interesting. I hope that it inspired a little bit. I hope that it's giving you ideas to get over the fear of a first page. And I hope that that encourages you to prioritise the sacred player element of these magic books and not the outcome. I know that it's encouraged me to start again and to work in some of my magic books all over again. So thanks guys so much for watching. I will see you next time in the art studio. Bye.